Ganapathy, I'm delighted to have a fellow food waller on the show. I appreciate my Jamie's business is much smaller than the mighty LT Foods or Darba, but let's start this off with a basic idea. You know, we're talking about innovation, and we've just had Damian with his shiny phones and his sports socks. Thank you, Dan, for that. Now we're into rice, right? And I don't know, from a viewer perspective, maybe their hearts sink and think, rice, that's a staple, I've got it every day. But actually, you've got a really interesting story about rice and innovation. Start us off with that.
A lot of times I think it's great disservice that rice, which is the most commonly had staple across the globe, does not get enough mention or conversation, part of conversations, and certainly not part of innovation as conversations. But the fact here is that's where we started off. You know, we said people have it, and it's reached to the point that it's become like the air we breathe in. And till the time somebody points out the quality of it, I think we don't even notice what we breathe in.
It's kind of so successful,
yes.
you don't notice it, right?
I like that. But the fact is, you know, when you get into a business of consumer food, and you'd appreciate that much better, you would want to speak to the consumer about what they do with the product rather than what we make. And that's where they started off. Way back, we understood the importance of how biryani as a recipe in the country is taking the world by storm. Actually, an Indian recipe.
And it's the big dog biryani, isn't it? Really.
Yes. And it's an Indian creation. For all the myths surrounding it, it's an Indian creation, created somewhere between Delhi and Agra.
Not Persian?
Not Persian. Certainly not Persian. Pulaus are the turf there, not the biryani, certainly. That's an Indian thing, all Indian. So that's where we spotted the early interests of people with biryani. And, you know, as part of our portfolio, we picked up one of our products, called it the Dawat Biryani. That's the branding which we did. This was way back in 2010. You know, much before there were news of biryani being ordered multiple times a second by so many delivery platforms. And that's where we started off. We wanted to provide a product which gave the most cherished recipe coming out of rice a platform. You know, it's like a canvas you provide for Michelangelo to paint. Michelangelo still needs the best of colors and the best canvases to go with.
And biryani is kind of rice royalty, right?
Yes. So it's core. Rice is core to it. And Dawat Biryani certainly is core to it. Yeah. And that's where this entire, work started off. And a couple of years back, we said, how can we actually get people to celebrate this favorite dish? So we came upon the thought of celebrating the World Biryani Day. We instituted that last year. And we marked the first Sunday of July.
Now this is made up, right?
Yes.
Didn't exist.
Yes, it didn't exist. But then what exists?
Well, it's like, I suppose,
isn't human imagination is the one?
Well, no, that's true. It's kind of like Hallmark inventing Mother's Day, right? Does that exist? It sort of.
I don't know Valentine's Day. Nobody around, I think, was alive then, but we still celebrate it, isn't it? So it's all about finding some time to mark something special in your life. So why not biryani?
And we're just out of curiosity, because innovation doesn't happen in a vacuum. Obviously, yes. Ganapathy. We talked about the process with Damian, but was there a tribe of people in the rice world? And I appreciate you're much more than rice. Sure. You're a big food business, really.
Yes.
But were there product people that thought, what's this nonsense about Ganapathy's global biryani day? Did they find that hard to swallow?
So you do have skeptics, and I'm very thankful to them for being there. They help us improve, get better at what we do. Okay, so you certainly, and I believe, adding to the qualities of what Damian spoke about on innovation, I think two important things which you need to keep for yourself. One is humility, to listen to a lot of thought and refine your innovation. That's one. And second thing is persistence and a bit of bravery to kind of pursue with it. So I think those are two important things. So you have skeptics who come up, who help you refine your thoughts. There are many of them.
Talk about the process of selling it internally, right? Before you get to the customer, you've got to get it through your bosses, they've got to get it through their bosses.
So I think, as I said, you start off by making yourself aware of what's happening around. And you can only be as confident about your idea as much as you know about it. Okay, so it starts off unlearning, learning, and learning it fully.
And
much better than
deep, right?
Yes, much better than anybody else out there.
Yeah.
And that gives you the confidence to kind of sell your thought. And it obviously, it can't be a vague, out of the place thing. It's got to be rooted in what you believe the people, the consumers at the end of the day, need.
Yeah,
need it latently.
And if you don't believe it, like, they're never going to believe it.
Nobody's going to believe it.
That's interesting. It's interesting, this idea of humility, but deep knowledge of it, and you take it up the chain. But just following this on and staying on the idea, Ganapathy, of what makes an innovative man. I mean, you're someone you're a keen birder. You're out there looking at the migratory birds in Delhi.
Yes.
You're a historian buff, right? You're a man of parts. You're a physicist.
Yes.
From before.
Yes.
Has this all helped you, this kind of hinterland?
Yes, certainly. You see problems in various shapes and sizes, and you try and interpret it in multiple faculties you're exposed to. So it helps you. It helps you tremendously.
Yeah. And do you
and when you're a marketer by training, you certainly are trained to kind of look at it in the most weirdest possibilities.
Yeah. So maybe, I mean, is your advice to the aspiring younger marketeers out there, actually gain a bunch of hobbies, get stuff outside of work, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Live
a bit. So sort of your personal credibility and your insight is really key to this. We're kind of in the final furlong here, but let me just ask a slightly provocative question, right?
Sure.
Is there actually anything new about innovation? Right? Don't you just have to be new and innovate all the time? It's become this sort of idea. Do you think to a certain extent it's just a bit of MBA jargon?
So I'll tell you, if you fall into the trap of wanting to innovate for the sake of innovation, that's a problem. And that's a serious problem for a lot of people. And that's why I guess strike rates on innovation, being successful, are so low. Because there are people who are trying to innovate for the sake of innovation.
Yeah.
As I said, you keep up with the curiosity, you try and unlearn, you try and be humble, and try and be brave with the idea you really thought of. I think these are very simple things to kind of go after.
Well, that's a really fascinating idea. It's a bit like using less of Damian's phones, right? Often the answer might be, don't do it.
Yes.
Right? Stay peaceful. So get this sort of Timothy Galway state of relaxed concentration.
Yes.
That's really interesting. I'm going to finish off here. So a bit like Damian, you're kind of only really halfway through your career.
Sure.
All of us guys keep telling ourselves, keep telling ourselves this. But look, Ganapathy, are you more innovative now as such than you were 20 years ago?
I think I'm as curious as I was. I think that's the deal there. Keep your child alive inside you.
Yeah.
I think children are damn curious, and I look forward every day to meeting people who are more curious than me.
Well,
it starts off the entire thing.
Yeah, that's. I mean, they're children of the ultimate unlearned, right?
Yes.
We're in a second with Sucleem, who's got twin 3-year-old daughters. I'm gonna maybe start off with the same question. Ganapathy, that's really fascinating. A tour de force that starts with something as simple as rice, but ends in something as profound as discover your inner child. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you.